I mean, this is really draconian legislation. Instead of dealing with the real issues that lead to strike action, such as mass discontent amongst the profession due to rocketing workloads, plummeting pay, this government seems to be tough on strikes, but not on the causes of strikes.
I guess the government would say that it's trying to protect children and parents. You know, they want minimum service levels so vulnerable children can go to school. They want rotas so that if strikes last 5 days or more, then kids can attend. Is that not a good idea?
Well, I think the government have the wrong priorities, is the real message that we are all getting from this. We all want to see minimum service levels in education. That's why we want every child taught by a qualified teacher. We want every child in a class size with fewer than 30. We want every child in a school that is funded properly. The government really do have the wrong priorities. Education should be their focus.
Just to try and jump in, do you have an issue with the minimum service levels in strikes, or do you just think that, OK, it's fine, but it's just not the priority that we would choose? Which is it, just specifically on the, on the levels of service and strike days?
Well, I think it is fundamentally wrong to remove the most basic democratic right from school staff to withdraw your labour. In 2016, David Davis said that the Trade Union Act was fitting for Franco's Spain. Elements of the consultation mean that it will be completely outlawed to take strike action in big areas of education. So what the government are suggesting is much worse than that. In fact, this is legislation really lifted from Chile in the 1980s.
You think it's legislation lifted from Chile in the 1980s?
Absolutely. The removal of the absolutely fundamental democratic right to withdraw labour and take strike action is an absolute attack on democracy, and that is what we're seing from this government.
I mean, I guess they would say that you can still strike, there just has to be a minimum level of service. Do you not accept that that's allowing people to strike?
If you look at the consultation and the areas of minimum service levels that the government are proposing, you're looking at 74% of children of the school establishment being still in school, essentially outlawing strike action in primary schools, in special educational needs schools. Instead, the government should be focusing on the key issues that lead to strike action rather than removing hard-won and hard-fought-for democratic freedoms.
I just want to take my presenter's hat off for a minute, if I can, and just try and articulate what I think some parents might be thinking, because I think most parents love teachers, right? We want teachers to be well paid.
Absolutely.
We see how hard teachers work, how important they are to our kids. So, on the side of teachers, totally get it. But then I guess some parents might also be thinking, gosh, my child's missed an awful lot of school last year, and they might be worried about what that means for their education, having to kind of resettle them, what it means for their friendship groups for young kids as well. And I guess secretly some parents might be thinking, yeah, look, I really support teachers, I wish they got paid more money, but actually maybe this is quite good if schools can't shut during strikes. What would you say to those parents?
Well, we stand with parents and we want to see an education system that's fully funded, with school staff that are properly paid, with manageable workloads, an education system in which every child can flourish. The reason the strike action was so well supported last year by parents was because they understand, actually, that is not the education system that this current government is delivering. That's, as I reiterate, the focus of what this government should have. Which is on the quality of education, be tough on the causes of strikes, rather than trying to remove the democratic right to take strike action if needed.
Now, this is the first time I've interviewed you after you became leader of the NEU, so I just want to get a bit more of a sense about who you are, what your sort of priorities are. You once compared, back in 2019, private schools to apartheid. What did you mean by that?
Well, I just meant that there was a disconnect. So there was not a unity in terms of education. You know, there was a separation where, you know, if you could afford more private education, that's where you would go, and that then the comprehensive education, which politicians don't tend to use for their children, you know, has been fundamentally attacked over a decade-long series of cuts and austerity.
Do you think that private schools are damaging for society?
I think private schools at the moment are currently under attack in terms of the school staff who currently work within them. We're seeing lots of disputes at the moment as private schools look to move away from the teachers' pension scheme. And, you know, we as a union are very clear that we will stand with those members and defend their terms and conditions.
That's
We
not
are
quite what I
absolutely
asked them, is
committed
it?
in the
Do you think that
national...
private schools are damaging to society?
What I want to see, Sophie, is comprehensive education, so well funded, so well resourced, that, you know, the desire to go to private education becomes obsolete.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.